I'm gonna get right into this video, but real quick, if you watch my Philippines videos, thank you. I appreciate you. Shout out to you guys. It's been awesome getting all the feedback, lots of comments and messages. And I am back home now, back in the States. I moved to Arizona recently, and I'm getting started on a new project. This is it's a Ford Econoline. It's like an old school camper. The only thing that really makes it a camper though is this bed in the back. It's like a seat that folds down, but it's not that comfortable. I'm leaving it. I'm not gonna tear it out. I'll end up putting like a memory foam topper over it. But anyways, we're installing a vent fan, and then hopefully I'll be doing solar panels today as well. So because this is an old school camper, I'm not tearing everything out. So normally I'd start with like an empty shell, but because I'm leaving like the ceiling and the walls and everything, I had to cut this hole, and that's where of course the vent fan is going to go, which was kind of tricky because I had to dodge. There's ribs like in the ceiling, so anyone building out an empty van, you know what I'm talking about. It's like the metal supports that the roof sits on. So luckily I found a like perfect spot for it, got that cut out. So now it's at the point where someone who was building from an empty van, like this is where you would start. So I've marked with this hole here, I have some dots in the corners, and I'm gonna drill some holes through there so that I can get onto the roof and then mark the cutout. I've been doing these van conversions for over 2 years, I guess coming up on 3 this year. And the only fan that I would recommend anyone putting in their van is a MAXXFAN, or a MAXXAIR, or whatever they're calling them. MAXXFAN Deluxe. They're awesome. I guess I could do a full review of it, but I'm not going to. Basically, there's a lot of cheap fans on the market, and for paying just a little bit more, you can get a much nicer one. And these are great because you can run them when it's raining. You can still have it open and have good air circulation in your van. So there are a couple parts here. This is going to be the flare that sits on the inside, the trim piece, that makes it look really pretty. And then this is the piece that we're going to mount on the roof. So we're cutting a hole out to set this into it, and then the actual fan itself will secure to that piece. So let's drill some holes and then get the hole marked on the roof. They're pretty quick to install. It's not a super big ordeal. I know a lot of people get nervous about just cutting the hole because they're like, okay, if I mess up, then now I just have a huge hole in my van. But hopefully after you watch this or watch some other videos, you realize like, all right, it's not that crazy. Yeah, as long, you know, measure twice, cut once, that whole deal. This is a 14-inch by 14-inch square that I'm just using to mark my hole. And you can double check it by putting it on top of that piece. So that cardboard is going to be like the cutout, and then this piece will sit in that hole, and we'll screw it in. I have these corners marked. I don't know if you can really see it, but there's just a little marker there. Oh, you can see that one for sure. So I'm just gonna drill, you know, 2 holes up there. That way when I get on the roof, I know exactly where it's gonna line up with this cutout, and then I'll just mark it with, you know, my my little cardboard piece. Ta-da. Down. Nice. It is super bright up here. All right, I've got my 2 holes there and there, and so I can just line up the corners of my guide. And there it is. I'm actually going to tape this guide down before masking out the whole thing. That way it just doesn't move around. There it is. I'm also going to set up basically just a cardboard box, but a screen, because I'm going to use a metal cutoff to cut the hole, and that like gets little metal pieces everywhere, and you don't want those to spread or like sit on the roof. You want to make sure to clean them up good, because those little bits will rust and will wreck the top of your van. So don't want to do that. All right, hopefully that's lined up. Find out. This is not the prettiest thing I've ever done, but it works. Just some cardboard taped up, good to go. Also, I didn't even think about this, but it works great as a sun visor. If you've never used a metal cutoff, angle grinder, I don't know, whatever we're calling it, don't be afraid. I'd never used one before I started working on camper vans, and I don't know, I think they're pretty straightforward. It's a little surprising when you use one for the first time, just because there's so many sparks flying everywhere. But I think they're great. They work awesome. And like I was saying earlier, we're just going to follow the inside edge. Let's make sure you can see that. Of this tape, and it should cut our hole perfectly to the size we want. So as long as we're, you know, following that straight line, it should be good. There's something else I was going to say. Oh, for sure, wear eye protection. I prefer not having gloves on when I'm using this, just because I can get a better grip on it. But I know a lot of people would say use gloves, and I don't know. It's up to you. This is what I was talking about with like getting that metal stuff everywhere. So I mean, I've got it in the gutter here, and I'll vacuum it up, but you don't want to have that like covering your whole roof. Got it on my camera. So when you have the cardboard there, it's just so much easier to clean rather than having to make sure you wipe down your entire roof. And that's looking spot on. Yeah, that's gonna be perfect. I was also worried, I pulled some insulation out of this because the whole ceiling, the walls and stuff are insulated, and I wasn't sure how flammable it was or is. So I cut up a pool noodle and just stuffed it in there. So that way any of the debris, like sparks flying in there, won't be hitting the insulation. I think I'm gonna cover this hole so that way I don't have to clean up this couch chair thing. Easy enough. Covered. Ta-da! Moment of truth. Beautiful. Nice. Perfect. I'm gonna get these trimmings cleaned up, and then we're gonna tape off another little spot, and we need to hit the edge of the metal with some primer because we don't want that to rust. So we need to finish off the metal, and then we'll let that dry and then get this piece attached. I forgot to mention one thing that I'm about to do right now. So I guess I didn't really forget to mention it, but didn't say it earlier. I've got I retaped my line, so it's, I don't know, about ½ an inch off of the hole, because that's where I'm gonna spray, so I don't wanna, you know, overspray. And I've got a metal file. I'm gonna clean up the edges a little bit, because there are some spots where the angle grinder, or the metal cutoff, kind of left, you probably can't see that, but just left some unclean metal. So I'm just gonna get that cleaned up so there's nothing loose before I actually spray over it. And I've got the cardboard back in there that I had up earlier. That way it's, you know, just catches everything that I'm knocking down. Hole is good to go. Cleaned it up with that metal file and then wiped the edge down again just so there aren't little bits of stuff in there. And it is very bright right now. The sun is in the perfectly wrong place. All right, give that a few minutes. And then hit it with another coat. Then we'll move on to actually installing the, I don't know what you'd call it, the flare, the trim, whatever piece we're attaching there. We need to make the roof flat. So we have like these dips here. And we're going to take this butyl tape and basically just put a couple pieces so that we can fill that space. I've only ever bought this on Amazon. I don't even know if Home Depot or Lowe's sells it, but it's super cheap and you get a ton in one package. And I should probably be using scissors, but this works. It is so bright. And we're still, once you know we have that flare piece on, or I still don't know what to call that, but once that piece is screwed in, we're still going to silicone around it. So this will be completely watertight. You obviously don't want to have any issues with that. All right, so that's pretty much flush with it, and then I'll put a whole ring around the entire hole before we put that piece on. That way it has a really good seal on it, because it's not, the roof is curved just a little bit, so the ring, we're gonna screw it down so it'll seem like it's flush, but it's not gonna be completely flat, and the butyl tape is gonna help to fix that problem. My drill, some metal tap screws. All right, this piece, when you're putting it on, the fan is gonna mount on these little metal clips. And so the clips, the sides that they're on, need to be running parallel to your car. So 2 on the left side and 2 on the right side of the van. And it's good to go. And then when I screw these in, I'm not gonna do one side and then another side and then another side. I'm gonna do one here, one here, one here, one here, and kind of stagger them. So that way I know it's being secured flat rather than screwing in one side and then having it, you know, kind of warped on another side. I'm like leaning on the van. My ladder's not tall enough. And I don't need people coming at me in the comment section, we're using a Black & Decker. I bought it for the very first van that I did and told myself that I'd, you know, buy better ones as I did more vans. And these have been killing it. They've lasted me as long as I've had them. So I'm not gonna put money out for something that I don't need. Looks a little bit different now, and the sun is down. But I did a solar panel video because I wanted to use this opening to access the the wires to run them through the van. So anyways, that'll be in my next video, which I'm sure I'll upload these at the same time. But back to the vent fan, I need to silicone around the edge of this, and then pretty much you just drop the fan on top of that, and then we'll run wires, longer wires, because the ones that are on the fan aren't super long. So we'll run some more wires so that we can eventually hook that up to a fuse box, and it's super straightforward, just a positive and negative. But then it's pretty much good to go. So just grab some silicone and yeah, seal that up. Silicone is good to go. Got it around that whole edge. I could wipe it down and clean it up a little bit, but it looks pretty good. It's not bad. So I'm running out of daylight. Super pretty though. But yeah, I'm not gonna wait for that to dry. So I'm just gonna try and not hit it as I put the fan on, and we'll see how it goes. Another really helpful tip for someone who's never done one of these: open up the fan before you put it on, and it'll be incredibly easier to access the screws to actually attach it, or the spots where the screws go in. Significantly easier. These wires is. All right. And I can't really see that side, but it should just drop in. And yep, feels good. It's good. All right. I'm gonna check it from the inside, make sure it looks all right. Make sure our wires aren't caught. And it is super dark in here, but that'll be perfect. Well, let's get it screwed down. Oh, I don't really need to show this in the video, but it's just a positive and a negative wire. And we're just gonna splice more wire onto it. But you'll see all of that once I do all the electrical. So we've got 2 there, 2 on the other side. I don't know where those screws went. Got them. So these screws, they're pretty short. And if you look, you're not gonna be able to see that. Basically, you have to angle the screw in. So instead of going straight in, you wanna angle it down a little bit so it catches the bracket and then pulls it in. And I don't know if I'll be able to show you that, but I'll try. So, there we go. Angle it down instead of straight in. And then, oh, there it goes. See, as it pulls, it's straightened itself out. And it's good to go. 3 more. Cool. So I'll get those other 2 in. I've got to like climb on top of the other side. But anyways, it's good to go. It's pretty straightforward. Like I said from the start, I think the most intimidating part is just cutting that hole. But just measure twice, you know, make sure it's squared, and should do just fine. Should do just fine. Just like slurred my words. My goal for these videos is to just do very simple, like, I don't know, not overcomplicated, step-by-step videos so that people can follow them and build their own vans. I mean, I'd love to build your van for you, because that's how I make money. But you know, there are plenty of people who are on a budget and are very new to, you know, building anything, I guess, very new to power tools, and there are some very simple techniques that you can use to make a quality van. And if you're on the border between like, do I need a vent fan, do I not? You do. That's before anything else, you need a vent fan. Yeah, you'll never regret it, but you will regret it if you don't get one. So if you have any questions, let me know. Hopefully this helps, and see you in the next one.